Hey, I'm Travis with Hoss Tools, and this is a weekly video series we do called Garden Goodies. It's just a short compilation of some small, shorter videos we've filmed throughout the week as we've been in our gardens, maintaining them, weeding them, harvesting things, and even planting new crops. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you have any questions about any of the clips, always feel free to put those in the comments, and we'll be glad to help you out. So we just had Hurricane Sally, or Tropical Storm Sally, kind of come through here. We caught kind of the east side of it. Not a lot of wind, but a lot of rain, and I want to revisit this rain gauge comparison study here. So we did a video on this several months back, talking about how these two rain gauges here, the smaller one and this bigger one, tend to report different things. And a lot of people said that they thought this one here leaks at the bottom. If they notice that there's leaks at the bottom, that may be why. But I've left rain in this thing for 3 or 4 days, and it stays the same. So this was not leaking. It just, for some reason, doesn't capture as much water as that small one there, and I don't know why. You would think it would, given it's got that kind of wide mouth on it there, wide top. Anyway, this one here, the one I consider the most accurate. Tiger, what are you doing? Anyway, this one here is showing about 5 1/4 inches of rain. Not quite all the way to the top. This one over here is showing about a little under 4.75 inches of rain. Now, to be honest with you, because I stood out here and watched it rain for a good bit last night, I don't think either one of these are completely accurate. I had a 5-gallon bucket on the other side of my barn there that was sitting outside, and it's completely full. So I think we got more than 5.5 inches of rain. It was probably somewhere between 6 and 8, if not more. But a lot of this rain was coming in sideways. Wind was blowing a little bit, and I think that might be why these rain gauges are not showing as much as we've got. It's the most rain I've seen in quite a long time. Even with Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Michael, I don't remember getting this much rain. But we're fortunate we didn't get as much as some places did, 15, 20 inches, and we didn't get a lot of damage and wind. Our prayers go out to everybody that was affected negatively by this storm. And just wanted to show you those two rain gauges again, and let me know what you think about these two rain gauges, and what's the most accurate way to measure rain. And do you think when the rain's coming in sideways, like with a big storm, that your rain gauge data is skewed a little bit? I kind of think it is. So yesterday I showed you approximately how much rain we got and talked about the rain gauges as far as Hurricane Sally goes, and we didn't get near as much as most folks did, but still negatively impacted our garden here a good little bit. This is where we had our sweet corn, our fall sweet corn planted. We did that on a YouTube video a few days ago, and just want to kind of show you what's going on here. This side of this plot right here looks like it's going to be, need to be completely replanted, and I may have to replant the whole thing. We've got a few over here. You can see, I'm not going to step out in there because it is soggy, but you can see a few corn sprouts there that hung on. But on this side here, completely kind of floated my drip tape up to the top and just washed it out. I don't see hardly any. There's 2 right there, but I don't see hardly any corn sprouts here. So looks like we're either gonna have to redo this or scratch it and plant something else. Kind of cutting it close on the timeline as far as getting fall corn in, and in time to produce and be harvested before our first frost date. So this kind of stinks, but it's part of it when you live down here close to the Gulf Coast this time of year. Always likely to get a tropical storm or hurricane that's going to dump a bunch of rain. You see a big washout right here. Just completely washed out anything that was there. So I could go back in there and replant some skips, but I don't know how effective that's going to be. I might just pull up that tape. Hopefully this will dry out in a few days. It's pretty well drained soil. I just pull up that tape, cultivate it again, put the tape back down, and try to replant. I don't know here. I'm kind of a little bit of a loss of what I should do, if I got time to replant or not. So we'll just have to see, but definitely a little damage there. Since we're right here, I'll show you. Our dwarf sunflowers did okay. They held up okay, but these taller sunflowers, you can see all those are laying down. They should stand back up. They don't look broken, but they took a little bit of beating from all that heavy rain too.
Grew a little something new this year. It's called a Boulet Gourd. Spelled B-U-L-E, but it's pronounced Boulet. It kind of makes it kind of fancy, don't you think? Well, I've grown gourds in the past. Heck, I've grown birdhouse gourds for years. I love growing gourds because it's unusual and they're fun to grow, and they don't take a lot of effort. Now, this particular gourd is powdery mildew resistant, which even makes it mow better. So, these things have these little warts on the outside of them that kind of give them a little character. And a lot of people that's never grown gourds before, they get a little, you know, when it gets time to harvest, they get a little itsy, I might say, and they gather them before they should. You want to make sure that stem there gets nice and dry. And also you want to use a pair of clippers. You don't want to use a knife, and you want to let that stem, it could be 1.5 inches, 2 inches long, and clip them. Make sure it's good and dry. Now, ideally, I would leave these on the vine and let them actually turn brown. You can see how this one's turning brown a little bit. They cure out. Let them turn brown, that's fine. You ain't got to be in no hurry to harvest them. I actually had a fence growing next to mine, and they grew up on that fence, and they do really well on the trellis. So, you can see there the straight stems there. So that's from, you know, growing up on that fence. And they keeps them off the ground a little bit. These things are nice and round, consistent. Now you may ask, what do you do with them? Well, they make great bowls and things like that. They make wonderful wintertime produce. So after these things cure out and get brown all over, we'll wash them, clean them up with a Clorox or bleach solution, get them nice and pretty. And then we'll have some all winter long that we can play with, and we can do kind of crafts out of. I'm gonna make some bowls out of some of them. This particular gourd here has a good bit thicker hull or rind than other gourds, so it makes them last for 2 to 3 years. So there you have it, folks. Something very unusual that you can grow and have these things, these gourds that you can play with all winter long, experiment with your crafts and things like that. So great.
I want to show you a little bit more of the damage on the garden from all that rain. This is where we had our little fall tater experiment going, and you can see this is just completely flattened out. I think all that rain might have ruined this experiment as far as fall taters go. If they come up, I'll be very, very surprised. All that moisture in there, not good for potatoes. So that's probably a scratch. We'll find something else to do with that area there. Zinnias held on pretty good. Our pole beans / runner beans actually held on pretty good. Of course, this is a little higher spot right here. I'll show you over here with our cover crop. Now, we were getting ready. This thing was starting to go to seed, as you'll see here in a minute. We were going to getting ready to terminate this and mow it down. You can see here, you see those seed heads there on that sorghum Sudan grass. All that rain just got those leaves from this cover crop just loaded down, and they just kind of fall over. So this is not necessarily a bad thing. It's probably going to make it easier to get in here and mow this down now that some of it's fallen over a little bit. If we let it, it might stand back up, but like I said, this thing is everything's starting to go to seed here, and we want to make sure we get rid of it before that happens. So we'll come in here and mow this as soon as it's dry enough to get the mower in there. We'll chop this down because it is time. Over here, these sunflowers we transplanted, they took a little bit of a beating. All those are laying on the ground for the most part. Hopefully they'll stand back up. Some of them are broken. See if I can step out here. Oh, it's wet. See that guy right there? He's completely broken. So some of them are just laying down. Some of them are broken. We'll just see. Hopefully we can still get a few blooms out of there to see what these look like, these varieties we're trialing. But you know, it is what it is. You just roll with the punches around here when you get this much rain, and we'll just keep keeping on and keeping on. If something didn't work out, we'll replant, lace up our boots, and try again. So we just came in here a day or so ago and gave our zinnias a bit of a haircut. If you want these things to really just lay on the blooms and keep laying them on, you got to keep them pruned or keep them dead-headed. So you could do it as often as you like, but I find that maybe once every 1 or 2 weeks is enough. And we'll just come in here and we'll just cut all the blooms out of here. Anything that's just starting to bloom or that's fully bloomed, we'll just cut it back to the next little branch there. That helps the plants get nice and bushy. It also makes us make sure we have continuous blooms all throughout growing season here. Now we save a lot of those stems or blooms, take them inside, let the wife, you know, make a pretty little display with them. A lot of them, because they're just so many, I just toss out here on the grass. Just let them break down out here. But the good ones, the real pretty ones, we'll save a few of those, put them in some mason jars inside, and cutting them like that usually doesn't take long for them to rebound. So we cut these a couple days ago. There wasn't a single bloom out here right after we cut them, and you can see they're already starting to rebound there. And in just a few more days, these things will be loaded down with blooms again. So even though it's sad to see some of those pretty blooms go, it's always a good idea to come in here and deadhead, trim these things so they keep blooming, so your bees and your butterflies and all your beneficial insects can keep feeding on these guys, and we can keep enjoying them ourselves as well. So prune your zinnias. They'll like it, and you'll like it too. So last week we did a little YouTube video talking about planting some fall pole beans, fall runner beans. And as you can see here, they are up. It's always a good sign to see your seeds germinate and to see them germinate well. You see our first row here are rattlesnake pole beans. We like to plant them thick. We might thin these out a little bit. Got real good germination on these guys. These were the first ones to come up. Row number 2 here, we got our Christmas lima pole beans. Once again, really good germination on those guys. Might have to thin those a little as well. But those were the second row to come up. And then, stepping over here, our third row, which is just now starting to come up. Looks a lot more full this morning than it did yesterday afternoon. These are our scarlet runner beans, and these babies are just now starting to kind of unfold and show those pretty leaves. So we got 3 rows of beans here. In just another week or so, we'll be putting our Hortonova trellis netting up alongside these guys, so they'll have something to climb on and run upon. So we put some T-posts in here, putting that trellis netting up, and just stand back and watch them climb. And hopefully we still got plenty of time to get some nice harvest in before things get cold later in the year. I also took down my eggplants I had right here. They just weren't doing anything. Don't know what happened with them. They just kind of quit on me. Usually they'll make come back and fall, but these just kind of quit. So we got this area right here pretty much close to being prepared, and we're going to come in alongside here and plant some English peas in the next week or 2. We'll trellis those just like we do these runner beans here. So we'll have peas and beans galore in this little section of garden right here.